Hey guys, this is a video. This is my 6th video blog reviewing the 1987 season of the WWF Superstars of Wrestling. It's been well over 3 months since I last did one. So today, or tonight, depending on whenever you're watching this, I'm going to be talking about episodes that took place on April the 18th, April the 25th, and May the 2nd, 1987. Now, the February 18th show takes place in Las Vegas at the Thomas and Mack Center, and gotta tell you, action-wise, we got a good show here. Start off with Rick Martel and Tom Zink, the Can-Am Connection, facing the team of Barry O and Dusty Wolf. Now, this is a good match. You do see in this match, you know, Wolf and Barry O taking a bit of an advantage in this, but in the end, Martel and Zink get the win. Now, after that, we go to our update segment, where this week it focuses on Brutus Beefcake. Of course, he was dumped by the Dream Team after WrestleMania 3, but got revenge on Adrian Adonis after the match with Roddy Piper. Then we see Outlaw Ron Bass face Alex Knight in the only match probably in the history of professional wrestling between two men from the same city. Ron Bass gets the win. Then we see Hacksaw Jim Duggan go up one-on-one against Tiger Chung Lee, and you would think, you know, with this type of match, that maybe, you know, there'd be a good fight. But no, Duggan gets the win. Now, before we go to the next match, we get a film clip of Sika and Kamala, a new tag team, now managed by Mr. Fuji. How they get prepared, and we see them basically eating fish. So they go to the ring and they face the team of Jesse Cortez and Jerry Allen, and this is just your typical big man squash match. They get the win. Now, after the match, we get an interview segment. Craig DeGeorge is on location with Blackjack Mulligan. Now, Blackjack Mulligan has a feud going on at this particular point in time with Outlaw Ron Bass. And it even got to the point where Ron Bass insulted Blackjack Mulligan's girlfriend. And I swear, one of the greatest lines ever comes from this segment. And Blackjack Mulligan's like, "My girlfriend, she spits tobacco better than a whole lot of men do." Okay, I don't know if I needed to hear that. So, we come back, Jake the Snake Roberts is in action. He goes up against Joe Murto. And, you know, it doesn't matter what Jake Roberts' opponent is. I will watch a Jake Roberts match. I mean, this guy can do no wrong. Jake Roberts gets the win with the DDT. Now, in this point in time, there is a campaign going on by the Honky Tonk Man and Jimmy Hart to ban the DDT. So after this match, they post an address to where you can support the banning of the DDT or to not support the ban of the DDT. So after that, we get part 3 of the Ken Patera story. Now, Ken Patera speaks for the first time in this story behind bars in jail, saying that he would get rid of people like Bobby Heenan. He blames Bobby Heenan for being in jail. Boy, this sounds like 2011 WWE writing. Did I say that? Oh, my goodness. Anyway, King Harley Race comes out next with Bobby Heenan, and he takes on Billy Anderson. And this really isn't much of a match, you know, because Harley Race just beats up Billy Anderson, gets the win. So, we're done with that episode. Let's go to the next one. April 25th, 1987. For the third and final time, is held in Las Vegas at the Thomas and Mack Center. Now, I say the third and final time because in the previous review, or video blog, the first episode was done at the Thomas and Mack Center. So we start off with Demolition, Axe and Smash, managed for the first time by Mr. Fuji, against the team of Paul Roma and Jim Powers. Now, before the match, we get a quick interview from Paul Roma and Jim Powers. I wonder if they're going to end up becoming a young tag team known as the Young Stallions. I wonder. But anyway, to the match. And this is just a typical squash match. Demolition gets the win. They beat Roma and Powers. Then we get an update on Danny Davis, the banned referee who now turned professional wrestler. We come back. Tito Santana goes up in action against Ed Dean, and Santana gets the win with the flying forearm, one of his signature moves in the WWF. Then we get the Honky Tonk Man with Jimmy Hart against Tom Sharp. Now, what's interesting about this match, now, I said a minute or two ago, with the Jake Roberts match, the whole ban the DDT thing, there's no mention of the address or the picket sign that Jimmy Hart has, to ban the DDT. But anyway, Honky Tonk Man wins with the shake, rattle, and roll. So we come back, and it's the Killer Bees in action. B. Brian Blair and Jumping Jim Brunzell against the team of Steve Lombardi and Iron Mike Sharp. Now, this gets actually funny, because during the match, we get a comment from Steve Lombardi and Iron Mike Sharp, not the Killer Bees. And they talk about Paul Roma and Jim Powers. Now, early in 1987, don't ask me why, but WWF had a storyline going of a feud between Jim Powers and Paul Roma and Steve Lombardi. Don't ask me why or what. I have no idea how this segment ends. I really don't know how this segment ends. It's going to be funny to watch. So anyway, the Killer Bees get the win. Then we get the fourth and final part of the Ken Patera story. Ken Patera leaves prison, and Mean Gene Okerlund is the first man there to meet him. Yeah, I want Mean Gene to meet me if I was getting out of jail. I want him to be the first one to meet me. So after that, we see a quick montage of Ken Patera in the gym training, saying, "I missed the birth of my child, my daughter. I was sold down the river, Heenan. You said I was old. I can't do it anymore, Heenan." So basically, it's the continuation of him saying, "I'm going to get Bobby Heenan. I blame Bobby Heenan." So after that, Mean Gene interviews Bobby Heenan backstage, and Okerlund suggests for Heenan to have a debate with Ken Patera next week, in which Bobby Heenan agrees to. And you will see how it ends up. So now we go to our featured match, a 6-man tag team match. Nikolai Volkov, the Iron Sheik, and the Natural Butch Reed against C.V. Offee and the Islanders. Now, before the match, we see Hacksaw Jim Duggan sitting in the front row with a 2x4 and his ticket. He bought a front row seat just because of Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik. So, before the match starts, Volkov attempts to sing the Russian national anthem, but Duggan goes over the barricade and gets Iron Sheik, Volkov, and Reed out of there. Meanwhile, one of the Islanders goes over the corner and he's like, "Dude, he's not going after you. He's going after the people who are singing the Russian anthem." So, Duggan goes back into the crowd, goes back into his seat. It's somewhat of an even match until the end where Butch Reed hits the Gorilla Slam and gets the win. After the match, Reed, Sheik, and Volkov attack C.V. Offee and the Islanders when Hacksaw Jim Duggan goes back over the barricade and goes after all 3 men. Let me get a drink. Now, before we leave this episode, we get a quick word from both Brutus Beefcake and Johnny V. Now, Beefcake talks about meeting Johnny V next week on Superstars. And are you ready for this? He talks about how he had to deal with all the crap that Valiant put him through. And they bleep the word crap. Yes, they bleep the word crap. Remember, this is 1987. So we get comments from Beefcake and Johnny V to set up the next episode of Superstars, which really is a hell of a show. I mean, this is a great episode. And let's get to it right now. This one aired May the 2nd, 1987, Worcester, Mass. In the Centrum. So we kick things off with Macho Man Randy Savage against S.D. Jones. And wait, that's not Howard Finkel. Why isn't Howard Finkel there? Why is Mel Phillips there? I don't want Mel Phillips. I want the Fink. I want the Fink, damn it! I want the Fink! So anyway, as Savage comes down to the ring, Mel Phillips announces him as the former Intercontinental Champion, which gets Savage really upset. So he takes the mic and he says that he is the uncrowned Intercontinental Champion and also the uncrowned Heavyweight Champion. And then he grabs Mel Phillips as he's about to beat him up when S.D. Jones comes up from behind and starts beating up Randy Savage. And this gets a huge pop. I mean, S.D. Jones wailing away on Randy Savage. This gets a huge pop. I mean, it's incredible. And it goes to the floor, and for a while, S.D. Jones has the advantage. But then Randy Savage comes back. Savage hits the elbow drop. 1, 2, 3, Savage wins. Now, after the match, he does a double axe handle in the ring, and then he throws Jones out of the ring, and then he hits another double axe handle from the top rope outside. To show you how mad Savage was. Now, McMahon mentions also during this, and this is very weird, the way he worded this, that tonight he will face George the Animal Steele in a lumberjack match, referring to Saturday night's main event. Because I remember seeing videos where they never say tonight, you know, such and such is going to face such and such. They always said this weekend, such and such is going to face such and such, basically referring to Saturday night's main event is going to take place. So, anyway, they try to get a comment from George Steele, and Steele's like, so after that, we go to our update, which focuses on Billy Jack Haynes and his continuing feud with Hercules, and he says how he got 30 stitches from WrestleMania 3. Next up is one of the featured segments of the show, Luscious Johnny V against Brutus Beefcake. Now, this is the first time that Brutus Beefcake is mentioned as the barber. So this is sort of a historic moment. And this is a very quick match because Johnny Valiant was so confident he'd win this match that he gave his team the night off. Boy, was that a mistake. Brutus Beefcake gets the win via the sleeper, and then after that, shaves off the hair of Johnny Valiant. Not all of it, but enough to have Johnny V embarrassed. So we come back, and Nelson Velou, I hope I pronounced that name right, faces Killer Khan. Yes, for those of you who were fans of the WWF in the early 80s, Killer Khan returns to the WWF after a 5-year absence. And he is now managed by Mr. Fuji. And this is a squash match because Killer Khan is just a monster. And it shows right here in this match. Hits with the knee drop, 1, 2, 3, Killer Khan wins. So, you got to remember, at this point in time right now, Mr. Fuji has Kamala, Sika, Axe, Smash, and now Killer Khan. Wow. So before we go to the next match, we see Kamala and Sika, speaking of them, eating a live lobster. Yes, eating a live lobster. And then we go to a tag team match where Dusty Wolf and Rocky Stone face the Can-Am Connection, Rick Martel and Tom Zink. Apparently Dusty Wolf had not had enough of Martel and Zink, so he wanted the match again. And I tell you, in this one, Dusty Wolf has one of the ugliest pair of tights I have ever seen on a wrestler in my life. I mean, it's absolutely terrible. But Martel and Zink get the win. After that, we get the setup for the public debate between Ken Patera and Bobby Heenan. Basically, everything that led up to this debate. And who else would be the moderator for this debate but Mean Gene Okerlund? So, both men give their opening comments, and then something very weird happens. Bobby Heenan has this list, and he starts reading it. During the middle of this, there's this whole bleeping thing going, beep, 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 and in the bottom of the screen, it says, due to the nature of Mr. Heenan's comments, we will not air what he is saying. Damn it! I want to hear what he's saying! I want to hear what he's saying, damn it! But anyway, it's offensive for 1987 and they don't air it. Now, one of the things that for this segment is sort of weak is they keep going back and forth. Like, Bobby Heenan keeps calling him ex-con, ex-con, ex-con. And Patera's like, I was in the 72 Olympics. I represented my country in the Munich Games. I won a medal. Blah, blah, blah. And then, you sold me down the river, Heenan. You never wrote me a letter. You never made a call. You never even visited me. Ooh. So, at the end of the debate, Heenan says, you want a belt? I'll give you a belt. So he takes his belt off and he starts whipping Patera. But Patera stops him, grabs the belt, wraps it around his neck, and throws Heenan across the ring, holding on to the belt. And Bobby Heenan is knocked out cold. And Ken Patera is standing there and the crowd's on their feet. McMahon and Ventura and Sammartino are speechless. So we come back and we see Bobby Heenan on a cart being taken back to the locker room, and he is out cold. He is out cold. So after that, we go to our final match, which is Jack Millman against Adrian Adonis. This is the first time we see Adrian Adonis since WrestleMania 3 bald. Unfortunately, this would also be the final time we see Adrian Adonis on Superstars bald, because he does leave the WWF, goes to the AWA, before he tragically passed away in 1988. So, and this is a squash match where Adonis wins with his version of the sleeper called Good Night Irene. And before we leave that, we get quick comments from the Hart Foundation and the British Bulldog, because next week, Bret the Hitman Hart is going to face Davey Boy Smith one-on-one. That is your 3 episodes of Superstars. Obviously, each one is good, but that last one, the May 2nd episode, is the best one, and really one of the best episodes all year. Number 1, because of the action. Number 2, of the storyline development. And number 3, really hitting it big with, the Patera-Heenan segment. While, yes, the comments may be cheesy, it comes off so good. It really does. I mean, it's fantastic. It really is. Now, as I leave you guys, I do want to tell you that in the next edition of the video blog for the 1987 season of the WWF Superstars of Wrestling, I will be reviewing the match between Davey Boy Smith and Bret the Hitman Hart. Also, Hulk Hogan in a non-title match against Cowboy Bob Orton, where the rope breaks. You're going to want to see what I'm talking about in the next round of the 1987 season video blog of Superstars of Wrestling.